Ah yes, here we see Haru Urara in her natural habitat, happy and smiling, enjoying her life in peace after the torture someone put her through, farming for hundreds of thousands of monies and SP. She's very glad that no one will be bothering her for a while, since everybody is preparing for the upcoming Champions Meet where all of the medium Umas are being put into work. She happily munches on her grass, cheering for the gold ships and ogres working hard to get their medium S. Life could not be better because no Tolenas could possibly get Haru Urara into Champions Meet.
Or would they?
Hey guys, UmaPokke here, and I promise this guy is not just because I hate Haru Urara and I want to see her suffer for no reasons in Champions Meet, but it is a legitimate guide for the upcoming Taurus Cup Champions Meet, and I promise Haru Urara will not lose in vain. I'm sure all of you have seen the usual guides teaching how to get the right aptitudes, what stats to aim for, which Umas are better, which skills to inherit, and what decks to use. And for today's content, I'm gonna be assuming you have a rough understanding on what to prepare for this upcoming Champions Meet. Otherwise, kindly check out the other videos by excellent umamusume content creators to first get a basic understanding on how to prep your Umas first. Or if you need a debuff Uma guide, kindly check out my evil nature guide over here. For today's guide, we are essentially going to explore a massive component of umamusume's game mechanics, pacing. I'll first walk you guys through the basic fundamentals of this and how our greatest of all time, Haru Urara, can utilize this for your benefit, securing a win in the upcoming Champions Meet. So what exactly is pacing? Pacing is a mechanic that's very complex, which affects your stamina consumption, the power to hit your top speed, skill proc timings, and even more beyond that. But this is going to be the ultra simplified Pro Max version. Essentially, every race in umamusume follows a pace as per categorized by the 4 styles in the game: front, pace, late, and end. And this pace will also affect your speed and stamina. You can refer to this chart over here for their various stats for the speed and acceleration respectively. Don't worry about it for now, but essentially, late surges as well as end closers have more speed and acceleration towards the end of the race to make up for their slower positions at the start, because they're pacing for the front runners as well as pace chasers. Throughout the entire race, all the way until the final portion, all Umas will do their best to follow this strategy, just like in the anime where Ogre knows she wants to save her last burst as a late surger. This is also why, despite your Umas having, let's just say, 1200 speed, but against the NPCs in URA scenario having only 500 speed, your pace style will still determine the order of your Umas within the race itself. So your Umas like Gold Ship running the end closer strategy will always be towards the back of the pack, at least until the final leg as well as last spurt. A race itself has 4 main portions: early, mid, late, and last spurt, which can be seen from the skill descriptions as well. This is also going to be denoted by the 2 small black lines in the race itself. The line near the start is going to be called the early portion, the portion in between both lines is going to be the middle, and the final / last bar is where the line is near the finish line. Towards the end of the mid and start of the late portion of the race, that's where the shackles that are binding your Uma will unlock, and everybody will go all in to hit their maximum speed as well as acceleration for the finish line, with the last part being the final stretch of track just before the finish line. As of now, pacing strategy in our current version of umamusume will always follow the order of the most forward style, no questions asked. This mechanic actually gets revamped in the JP server by the 1.5 year anniversary, which may or may not be due to this guy I'm teaching you guys here today, but as of now, this is still working in our global version, and I've tested this with a lot of different custom games using the same conditions. To make it as simple as possible, here is something that I made to demonstrate 2 scenarios before I bring out the greatest of all time, Haru Urara, into the mix itself. For the first scenario, in any normal race, let's just say all 4 styles have an Uma in that specific section. So front Maru, pace Agnes, late Ogre, as well as end closer Gold Ship. Every single Uma over here is going to be following the very first runner, which is going to be the Front Runner Maruzensky, which is also going to be known as the pace setter. So in this case, since our front Maru is going to be the pace setter and ahead of the others, which means everyone else will do their best to keep up and lock in, literally lock in, using all of their stamina, power, and speed to catch up to the front runner as much as possible. And towards the end, when everybody bunkais and outspeeds, over accelerate each other as they aim for the finish line, this is going to be the normal scenario. For this example, because the front is actually ahead of the entire pack, the Umas will enter their acceleration, stamina, and speed checks as per normal. Just think of it as everybody here wants ones do their best to catch up, and then by the later portion of the race, they will enter into their respective bankais, which is where everything comes off. For the second scenario, assuming that nobody is running the front runner pace style, which is a very likely possibility for this champions meet because meta aces are mostly pace, late as well as end, the game will just take a pure RNG gamble on one of the pace chasers and set them as the pace setter Uma. If there are no pace chasers as well as front runners, then the pace setter will be a random Uma from the late surgers, but this is very rare because there are so many good pace chasers in this champions meet. This phenomenon is also known as the lucky setter. In this scenario, the lucky setter will have a massive advantage over the other pace chaser Umas who did not get chosen to be the lucky setter, because now this lucky setter has the added benefit of being directly ahead of their fellow same style Umas, except you are always going to be one position earlier because you are the lucky setter. This means you'll have 3 additional advantage over the other pace chasers. You are going to reach your Bankai state faster, which is all the way towards the end. You're also going to be activating your later skills faster, as well as the fact that you're going to accelerate faster. Because of this lucky setter advantage, assuming all other states are constant and all of the other pace chaser Agnes targeting on the exact same build, it is pretty much impossible for all of the other Agnes to win the lucky setter Agnes. This advantage is so big that sometimes even if you have worse stats, you can still win the other Agnes simply because you are the lucky setter. Whether Gold Shape and Ogre over here wins, it'll be ultimately up to them, but within the same pace style, lucky setter will have such an advantage that they're pretty much guaranteed to win their counterparts. So using these two scenarios combined, enter into our actual strategy, the Haru Urara domain. So what exactly is this strategy all about? Haru Urara, as you may know by now, is absolutely cooked for this champions meet, with G in both turf as well as medium, which means there's absolutely no way in God's green earth that Haru Urara will ever win this champions meet. So why the hell am I abusing Haru Urara again? Well, she's not actually here to lose or even to race as a matter of fact, but rather Haru Urara's existence is going to be utilized as a domain effect, similar to a field effect in Yu-Gi-Oh! Or a passive effect in Honkai style. She could literally just enter into the race, stand there and eat her grass, just completely don't race at all, and her purpose will be fulfilled. To understand this, picture this scenario. Assuming that Haru Urara is the only front runner here, she will be the pace setter for all other Umas. If you are a little bit confused with this segment, please refer back to the previous portion again, because it's absolutely essential that you understand the pace strategy first, or you're just gonna think I just hate Haru Urara for no reason whatsoever. So the moment the race begins, despite Haru Urara being the pace setter because she's the only front runner, she will be so incompatible with this race that she will go all the way to the back of the crowd. We are essentially going to abuse the mechanics of pace strategy. Note, we are not abusing Haru Urara, but instead of utilizing the mechanics of pace strategy where they want to keep up with the Uma in front, we are going to do this in reverse, where our front runner Haru Urara will be so goddamn slow that all other Umas will slow down just to wait for Haru Urara. I can see from this picture over here. So the Agnes is like, let's wait for her, and then Ogre is like, you know what's for dinner, right? So this enters into the effect of our guide over here. When the pace of the entire race is now slower because of Haru Urara, not only is everyone's speed slower, everyone's stamina consumption is also going to be reduced throughout this entire race, at least all the way until the final stretch. Remember how evil nature seeks to nuke your opponent's stamina? Well, domain expansion Haru Urara will actually make it easier for the other Umas to pass the stamina check. So at this point, you might be wondering, why do I want to make it easier for other Umas to pass stamina checks? Wouldn't I want to kill the stamina as much as possible? Now, what other Torinas don't realize is that this only sets the pace for the race until the final burst. But the moment everybody is going to Bankai at the final burst, what is the stat that is going to get everyone to a top speed? Acceleration. Exactly, which is why a lot of trainers from the JB server keep mentioning umamusume is an acceleration game as well, right? So towards the final bout, everyone will use their power stat to accelerate as fast as possible and hit their top speed as fast as possible. And guess what has everyone been preparing for this champions meet? Speed and stamina, to prevent getting nuked by evil nature and all of the other debuff Umas that reduces your speed and stamina, which means that more likely than not, your opponent's aces will look something like these Umas that I'm going to be showing over here. Very high speed, pretty decent stamina, and power is going to be their weakest link. Aside from the medium S, notice how every single Uma here has close to max speed and the higher stamina compared to the power stat. I've actually won against every single one amount of these Umas using the Haru Urara domain expansion because my gold ship has an abnormal amount of power to easily hit top speed faster than all of the other Umas. She does not even have medium S, lower than 1200 speed, and does not have Maru Zenski's unique skill, but her power is actually close to 1000. This means that against other Umas with Maru ultimates that increase acceleration, even with medium S, I am still able to hit my top speed before them because of Haru Urara's domain expansion. To be fair, I do have a good amount of speed wise that raises my maximum speed, but the top speed is levels of a concern if you cannot even hit it in time due to Haru Urara. Meaning, power for power, I will always hit the top speed the first out of everyone else when they are all trying to hit their stamina checks to account for evil nature. Yes, that is the big review over here. Domain expansion Haru Urara is a power check for your opponent Umas, and for this Champions Meet, I'm sure a lot of Torenas will fail the power requirements in over preparation for stamina checks. So at this point, you might be wondering, how exactly do you use this strategy to your benefit? For Haru Urara herself, she honestly needs nothing more aside from existing, right? Do not change her style, do not change her pace, do not change her aptitude, just keep it exactly as where she is, which is Turf G as well as Medium G. But on top of this, I've also opted for an evil debuff build just for some additional speed and stamina debuffs since I know Haru Urara is not going to win. And yes, this is going to be the exact same build that I'm going to be using for Nice Nature. So to learn more about debuff Umas, kindly check out this guy over here. It's going to be the exact same principle. For your slot 2 Uma, you can either run a second ace or a debuffer Uma here depending on what you have. I went for a debuff Grass Wander with a specific aim at end closers to give my gold ship a better chance when competing with other gold ships, because at this point of race, your only concern as the trainer is gonna be who is your competitors using the same style of strategy, which means that can you outspeed them in this exact same rotation. For your last pick over here, it's gonna be honestly depending on your ace. Generally speaking, late and end closers are ideal aces if you are running Haru Urara domain expansion because they have the highest speed and acceleration by the final bout. Refer to this chart over here again for the exact numbers. So this means that in order for us to make the best use of the Haru Urara domain expansion, late surges and end closers will have inherently higher speed and acceleration, which means you will have the highest benefit because Haru Urara will be slowing down everyone's pace. In this case, I'm going to be using Gold Ship, and this is my build as of now. Eventually, when I hit the medium edge with a slightly better speed, I would be very confident for this upcoming Champions Meet, but if I cannot get everything better, then I'm just slam on for this. Before I show you guys a little bit more of an example for the race itself, here is some counter to this entire Haru Urara domain expansion because every single strategy has its inherent solutions. The most obvious counter is pretty much just running another front runner, which will completely remove Haru Urara's domain because there's now another front runner in front, which means that Haru Urara will no longer be the pace setter. At this point, your entire team will pretty much be a 2v3, so hopefully your ace is strong enough to pull through because you don't really know what your opponent is going to be running before the Champions Meet actually begins. Now, the good thing about this is that front runners for this Champions Meet, they are generally not as strong compared to late surges and end closers inherently, so you are still in a good position to win as long as your own ace can outspeed the enemy late as well as end closers. Another solution is going to be hitting the power check for a higher acceleration bonus, so the reverse of stamina checks. Now, this is going to be highly unlikely for most players since a lot of people are over preparing their stamina to account for stamina debuffers. But if you do encounter trainers with a good power stat, example more than 800, running the 2 ace or 1 ace 2 debuffs, you are most likely going to be losing. And lastly, it's gonna be acceleration skills because acceleration skills, they do not give a damn about pace setter, they pretty much just interact by the way itself, which means you can counteract this Haru Urara domain expansion. For now, we have no medium acceleration skills, but any of these skills over here can essentially break free from Haru Urara. It is more uncommon to get these because skill point is limited during this UI scenario, and ace runs usually see the double uniques and playtime, slipstream, and tail end combo. However, if you have been preparing for Champions Meet properly, you should either have Taiki Shuttle, Maru Zenski, and or Major Ryan's unique skill, which are all considered acceleration, which is going to be a very good way to counter Haru Urara. So for this portion of the video, I'm just going to be showing two of the examples I've actually prepared up to kind of see how this strategy works exactly within the Haru Urara domain expansion, and I'm going to be showing you guys the race stats for my opponent as well. So you can see over here, we actually get a late start for both my Urara as well as Grass Wander, which actually does not concern me whatsoever because my only ace is going to be my Gold Ship. So at this point of the race, you can see they are pretty much going to be running as per usual, but you can see that everyone else within this entire race, the pace is going to be a lot slower because Haru Urara was going to be my only front runner over here. So you can see over here, despite my Haru Urara being the front runner and everyone else is going to be in front, my Gold Ship is actually accelerating a lot faster compared to the other two Gold Ships over here, and eventually she actually managed to reach rank 1 despite being the end closer. So that is the entire purpose of Haru Urara, where the pace is going to be completely messed up since everyone was thinking, where's Haru Urara, Urara. Let me find and wait for Haru Urara. And then my Ghost Ship is like, nah, I'm not gonna wait for her. And she basically just went for it, and she's kind of pretty much the race at this point is gonna be completely over because there's no way the other Ghost Ship can even catch up to my Ghost Ship. And Ogre Cap and Grass Wonder, the tail, they are pretty much not gonna be concerned. But my only biggest threat right now is the opponent Ghost Ships or potentially the Ogre, which have a higher stat line. And we're just gonna skip through this part a little bit more towards the end, where you can see this is gonna be the final bout. But because my Ghost Ship is so far ahead, there is pretty much no chance for my opponent to catch up even more at this point. Because you see over here, the other opponent Ghost Ships are actually starting to run up towards me. But because I already established my top speed at a much faster frequency, the game is already over. From like 30 seconds ago, this race is pretty much over, and then my Ghost is gonna go ahead, get rank 1, and you can take a look towards the end. I'm just gonna be showing you guys the stats where we actually run against the opponent over here, right? So you can see over here, this is gonna be one example from the enemy Ghost Ship. And notice how he has medium S with speed and stamina at a very high base mark of 1186 and 1000 stamina, but their power is going to be a lot lower, which is where my Ghost Ship comes in because she has close to 1000 power. So my acceleration is pretty much not even gonna be close to the competition, and all of these excess stamina is frankly speaking useless because we're not gonna be trying to kill the opponent Ghost Ship via a stamina check. It is going to be an acceleration check looking at the power over here, right? So this is gonna be one of the opponent Ghost Ship, and my Ghost Ship also does not have medium S. So this is gonna be the other Ghost Ship over here, a little bit more similar to myself, but unfortunately because I just outskilled this guy because I way more wide skill compared to this Ghost Ship over here. But this is a pretty decent Ghost Ship, assuming that you guys actually get more stats. So this is actually going to be a better example compared to just now, because for this particular race, it was actually a lot closer, because what happened essentially was that we actually faced a front Maruzensky, which means that my Haru Urara domain expansion is pretty much completely worthless, and we are pretty much going to be going up against in a 2v3 scenario, right? But at this point, you can see that because they were running a front Maruzensky, you are going to see that towards the end of this race, the front Maruzensky was actually not a problem for us, because front runners, like I mentioned, is just going to be inherently a little bit weaker compared to the pace and as well as the late surges for this race, right? So you can see that the race is going to be taking place pretty normally. So Haru Urara, she's going to do her own thing. She basically had no effect on this race whatsoever, aside from a little bit of a debuff by herself. And towards the end, we're going to reach the final bout where my Grass Wonder is going to be a debuffer, and this is where my Ghost Ship is going to activate and go all and try to catch up towards the front Maruzensky. But the main thing I kind of want to show you guys is over here, you can see that as my Ghost Ship is going to be catching up towards the front Maruzensky, the opponent Ghost Ships as well as Ogre Caps will also start to catch up, meaning that even though they have dispelled my strategy for Haru Urara using a front Maruzensky, it actually did not have any impact on the outcome because my Ghost Ship just has an inherently stronger build compared to the others as well. So you can see, even though front Maruzensky was at the lead at the very start, the Agnes Taigion, Ogre Cap, and my Ghost Ship actually eventually managed to overtake the front Maruzensky, and it was a very close call between my Ghost Ship and the Agnes over here. You can see we almost lost it by roughly this bout over here, because my Ghost Ship is gonna be able to stat check the opponent Agnes Taigion. So for this particular example, even though your Haru Urara is not gonna be basically taken into effect over here, but it also removes one potential debuffer from your enemy, because if they actually run a front runner themselves, there's one less slot for a better ace, right? Either that slot being a ace for late as well as end closers or pace chasers, or running a second debuffer. My Ghost Ship here would have probably lost, because an additional debuff would have meant that this Agnes would probably have been faster, right? But because we didn't go for that, we are gonna be coming to this scenario over here. So I'm just gonna be showing the stats a little bit. So you can see this was the Agnes Taigion that pretty much almost won me. He has the medium S, he has the pace S, red shift, everything activated, which means just from the raw quality of this Agnes Taigion, she should have just won my Ghost Ship by every single matrix. But unfortunately, because for this player, he did not place in, or rather we had one less debuff on my Ghost Ship, I was actually able to pull up a hit because I still have a lot of power to hit my acceleration at a much faster pace, right? So this, despite his medium S and everything, swinging Mace Show, and you can see this is gonna be my own Ghost Ship here, medium A, no Maruzensky ultimate, but my skills and everything still eventually managed to pull me through just by a margin, right? Then this is gonna be the Ogre Cap over here, also running the medium S, very high speed, very high stamina, but once again their power is not gonna be as high, which means that there was not that big of an impact for my Ghost Ship to actually hit the benchmarks I actually won for this race. So with that, I've pretty much come to the end of the most evil guide for Champions Me. I would say that this Haru Urara is just one example where how you can make use of the game mechanics, in this case the pace strategy, to your advantage, right? So looking forward to see your comments as well as thought below on this particular strategy, and hopefully I don't meet that many Haru Uraras for this race itself, because honestly it's still kind of sad because you're basically sending her to a death. So it is what it is. With that, we have come to the end of today's content. All the best for UmaPokke, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care.
Mambo, mambo, お祭りマンボウ、わっしゃいマンボウ、お祭りマンボウ、ダブダブゆらゆらお祭りマンボウ。